Tera Box is a deck that when it first got found, it had a lot of hype towards it. It was a spiritual successor to Lost Box, and that's kind of what made me switch to it immediately. I saw Tord and Daichi Shimada play it at, I think it was the Miyagi or Aichi Champions League, and from there I was hooked, and I played the deck. I was in Japan at the time, and I just literally locked in on that deck, and that was that. The deck's great, the deck was great, the deck is still great. It had a bit of a grey patch in between, but I think right now the deck is in a really good position to actually threaten the meta. We saw Alex Szymanski over at the World Championships take a top 32 placement with Tera Box, and mind you, before this event, Tera Box was just completely off the cards. Like, Tera Box was not good. If you were playing Tera Box, you were throwing the better Terra deck was Dog Box, the Eevee Box, but right now, I think that might be the other way around. I think Tera Box might be the better deck. Obviously, these are online events, and I don't like really looking at online events for like win percentages and matchups and stuff. But if we take a look at the matchups right now for Tera Box, these are some pretty damn good matchups. We got Goldengo, which is a 50-50, and I think that's completely wrong. I think if you play the matchup correctly, speaking of playing matchups correctly, if you guys want to improve on all of the matchups, I have all of the little nitty-gritty details on every single meta matchup there is right now with Tera Box over in my Metafy. I will leave a link in the description, and the first 5 people who use this code, BAM, will get 20% off of their order. So yeah, appreciate you guys, appreciate the support, and yeah, not really a sponsored segment, more so like sponsored by myself and stuff, but yeah. If you guys wanna get the guide, it goes over why Tera Box is so damn good, and it goes over all of the matchups, all of the meta matchups that we're gonna speak about today in a lot of detail. So anyway, back to the video. Insert transition. Bam. There we go. It's much more favored. Dragon Ball Dust Noir is I think it's that one's more 50-50 than Goldengo itself. And you've got Gardevoir, which is 45%. That's better than it used to be. Like, this is already better than it used to be, and Shaman exists right now. Obviously that deck doesn't play Shaman, but yeah. Then we see Raging Bolt Ogerpon at a positive 55, Charizard Pidgeot at a positive 55, Grimmsnarl Frostlass as a positive 55, Straight Dragapult as a straight 50-50, and Joltik Box at 40%. But I think this is definitely even favored if you know the lines of how to play the matchup, and if your deck list is tailored towards also having an out to the specific deck being Joltik Box. And then Goldengo Joltik Box is favored. But I think this in itself is incredibly strong. All of these should be favored towards you except for Gardevoir. Gardevoir's not favored, but every single matchup here is really good. It's winnable in every sense, and I think that Tera Box right now, if you're playing in any upcoming regionals or any upcoming events, I think Tera Box is a really good way to play it. Because not only is the deck consistent, it's fast, and with the new time rules of the whole tying thing, it's +1 instead of +3, Tera Box is one of those decks that doesn't really mind this new time rule that much, whereas if you're playing like something like a Gardevoir Mirror, like, there's a good chance it's going to end up in a tie if it ends up 1-1 with like 10 minutes on the clock, right? So Tera Box is a deck that can avoid this time rule a little bit because it is such an aggressive deck. Obviously, if your opponent slow plays, then not much you can do about that, but it's already, you're playing a fast deck, so you're doing your part to avoid ties. But if we take a look at the deck list right now, this is probably the most common deck list you'll see. It has an answer to just about everything, and it is really consistent. You'll think, okay, but how is the deck consistent when most Terra decks usually just struggle in being able to like set up a board that is Iona proof? Well, that's the thing, you have to actively do that yourself. With cards like Fezandipity and cards like Mew EX, and having multiple outs to Hootoots, such as a 80 HP Hootoot, it is really important that you get these Pokemon benched as, maybe not as early as possible, but as early as possible before the Iono spam, to actually prevent yourself from having a terrible board state and being able to draw out of these Ionos. The 80 HP Hootoot is a lot better than a lot of people give it credit for. The negative thing about the 70 HP Hootoots is obviously the 70 HP, but the negative thing about the 80 HP Hootoot is that of the 2 energy cost, and also it has an ability, so if you're playing against Grimmsnarl, that can be really bad, but Grimmsnarl is falling off right now. So the 80 HP Hootoot actually has a lot more merit to it than it may have seemed originally. We're not playing any Poffins, so the 80 HP doesn't matter in that sense. The nice thing is that if you have a late game 80 HP Hootoot against Dragapult, your opponent can't then go Horlucha ping 10 onto it, and then a Phantom Dive to kill something like your Pheasantipede and your benched Hoothoot, because it'll still have 10 HP remaining. And that is super important, because that is a really strong play that Dragapult players like to do towards the end of the game, because in this matchup for them, the prize mapping is usually 3-3. And if you can get to a board state where it's not possible for them to take a 3-3, it can be very difficult for them to actually close out the game. Their Dusknoirs are almost a liability in that game, because giving you prize cards is almost a death sentence because of how fast you take prize cards with Wellspring Ogerpon. If they aren't able to set up in the beginning of the game, if they aren't able to set up wide, like triple Dreepy, triple Dracloak, there's a good chance you're just going to be able to stall them out, and not stall them out, just shut them out of the game completely. You're playing cards like Iron Bundle to get the Badoo out of active position, and then be able to take out 2 valuable targets, but something that I see a lot of players do is that even when the Badoo is active, they swing for 100 to the active and 120 to the bench. This is just not a good play, because I find that it's like really difficult after that to recover from an Iono and a counter catch it into one of your Noctowls, and then from there you need to find another Noctowl for Air Balloon plus your Crispin. And if you're using a Crispin, that means you're not using Boss, which means you're probably killing another Badoo and only 1 Dracloak, and from there your opponent's probably gonna have double Dracloak and set up into Dragapult, and from there the game gets a bit shaky, because obviously the Badoo is pinging into your Wellspring Ogerpon, means Phantom Dive kills this in 1 shot. So how do we avoid that scenario, which is the main scenario that I find people making mistakes in? I feel like that first attack with the Wellspring Ogerpon is the thing that 90% of the time that just isn't the correct play. So how can we fix that? Well, it's quite simple. Obviously, with Torrential Pump, you don't have to shuffle the energy back. And if we use Crispin to attach the energy on that 1 turn, now we don't have to shuffle the energy back. We can keep the energy on, which means 1, we are now less... we're drawing more cards from Iono. We're drawing 5 instead of 4, which is quite nice. And on top of that, we keep our energy, which is the main thing. You'll think, oh, okay, but now we're going for a weird prize raise. It's like, yes, but if they ever pop a bomb, that means we're going into even prizes again, which means Briar is on the cards again, so it makes them even less likely to want to pop bombs. And on top of that, since we have our energy already attached, it means next turn, if they don't set up triple Dracloak, which is not an easy thing to do for Dragapult, if they don't set up triple Dracloak, Boss's Orders is going to kill both of the Dracloaks, because we're not going to need the Crispin. So this is one of the things that is really important, and it just shows a deeper understanding of your deck and a deeper understanding of understanding matchups. So Wellspring Ogerpon has a lot more layers to it. It is like an onion, as Shrek would say. It has a lot more layers to it than you might originally think, and it is definitely the main reason that the deck is so strong right now. Another one of those reasons would be the Pikachu EX. The Pikachu EX has a great, in itself is so good into so much of the meta. Goldengo it's great into, Raging Bolt it's great into, because they don't play Slitherwing anymore. Slither is gone, right? And that means Pika stock's through the roof right now. It's really good into Joltik Box itself, if you know the matchup, and Goldengo Box Joltik itself. Both of these matchups are favored, honestly, if you know how to play the matchup. This deck, I think right now, is in a super, super strong position because of how well it is positioned in the meta. It takes good matchups, it's super consistent, and it is also super fast. It is one of those Tera decks, right? So if you have a Fan Rotom, if you have an S-Ball, if you have an Ultra Ball, if you have any of these cards in your hand, you're going to have a good time setting up. You're going to be in the game. And that's a problem with a lot of these decks. Like, I play Dragapult a lot right now, and I find myself having slow starts a lot. If you guys watch my streams, you'll know I find myself having slow starts very, very often. And this is one of those decks that doesn't have a slow start. But you might be thinking, alright, well, why should I start playing Tera Box now if it's just going to die next format? Well, that's where you're wrong. That's where I think next format, it is going to be also an incredibly strong deck. If we take a look at a lot of these mega decks, a lot of them, one, are stage 2 decks, right, which we can already deal with because of how strong he is, Water Ogerpon. And a lot of them are going to be taking in Psyduck instead of the Shaman, because Dusknoir is just a bigger threat to the format than he is right now. So the odds that they're going to take in Shaman is incredibly, incredibly low, because Dragapult Dusknoir is just a much more prominent deck in the current format, and in the format going forward. If we take a look in Japan, Dragapult Dusknoir is still the best deck in the game. And we have a good matchup into the best deck in the game. And another thing is that since we have so many different energies, and since we have such a nice way of attaching energies and accelerating energies, no matter what's good in the format, we can find an attacker to deal with it. If, for example, Charizard EX or the Mega Charizard becomes good, we can play Walking Wake. If we find ourselves struggling against Venusaur, well, we can play the Reshiram, right? So there's a lot of cards in this game that can just be teched in. For example, if Raging Bolt and all those beatdown decks kind of disappear, which they're not, because, well, you know, the whole point of them is to deal with big HP targets. So what's going to happen then? Alright, well, the format's now going to be dominated by beatdown decks like Joltik Box, like Raging Bolt, like Goldengo. What's going to do? What's going to happen? We're going to win. We're going to win a lot because we have a very good matchup into all of those. That's like the things that we want to hit. We want to hit the decks that are trying to be played in order to beat the Mega decks. And if we hit the Mega decks, it's not even that bad of a situation. We also play Briar. We can force them into a situation where they have to go 2-2-2, and if we go early game to take 2 prizes with Water Ogerpon, well, let's do some basic math there. We've taken 2 out of our 6 prize cards, leaving us with 4 prize cards. If we kill a Mega with Briar, that means we take 4 prize cards, means we take all 6 prize cards. Damn, I feel like Rap God there, I'm not gonna lie. That was kind of fast. But that's the thing, is that there's a good chance we're not gonna have to even kill more than 2 things in games, because we can go early game, take a quick 2-prizer, or we can just gust around it, right? It's not like we don't play lots of gust. We play Iron Bundle, we play Double Boss, we play Counter Catcher. There's many things to gust around, and we also just hit a lot of things for weakness, right? Like the Lucario, we hit for weakness with Clefairy. With there were some other ones, but I don't remember exactly which ones they were. I don't think there was a Mega Water Pokemon printed just yet. But we hit a lot of things for weakness. And we also 2-shot a lot of these Megas, and that is just super strong. And if we play against a basic Mega, oh no, whatever shall we do, Terrapagos, Crown Opal. Shout out that guy. I mean, yeah, the deck has an incredible matchup spread. And if any of these Megas have really strong, powerful attacks that we can't deal with, well, can they deal with them? Because we have Energy Switch Crispin onto a Mew EX, which just so happens to copy any attack in the game. But hey, that's just me. But yeah, I'm really passionate about this deck. I'm probably going to be playing this deck a bit going forward. I have been on the Dragon Ball train a lot, but I am starting to see the light again. And this deck is so much fun. I really, really enjoy this deck. Shout out to Bar Unknown. Not sponsored, but best shop in trading card game shop in Osaka. If you guys ever go to Japan and visit Osaka, go to Bar Unknown. Love those guys. And then yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.